Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Red Raptor Writes. It's finally here, Jurassic World Rebirth, a movie I was excited about at first until I saw the trailer and lost all hope. Now that we finally see the end product, is it any good? Was the initial hype warranted, or is it as bad as the trailers made it seem? Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it. Viewer be warned. Now let's dig this up. Jurassic World Rebirth is difficult for me to pin down. There's no easy tagline I can use to sum it up. A lot of it doesn't work, straight up falling on its face, though certain parts are just good enough for me to find some enjoyment. It crossed the finish line, albeit in a very sloppy fashion. That's much more than I could say about all other JW films for which I walked out of the theater desperately hoping to get hit by a bus.
Come on, I want you to do it, I want you to do it. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Hit me.
So, Rebirth is the best of the new batch by default. Okay, let's get into some specifics. Starting with the plot, or plots, we have what I'll refer to as the A-plot and the B-plot. This is a good spot to start, since the A-plot is my biggest positive, so I'm not immediately coming across as a nitpicky jerk. Many eggs are broken to make this omelet work, and they'll have their time, but let's be nice. I like this stuff. Half of Rebirth follows a crew of mercenaries venturing to a forbidden island, Isle St. Hubert, to retrieve DNA from 3 large species. One from land, one from the sea, and another from the air. Yes, it makes no sense and comes across like, sorry if you've heard this one before, it sounds like a video game plot. I would have loved to see a 2000s style game tie-in like King Kong, but alas, that's a different, cooler timeline. Anyway, yeah, here's where we get our stars who absolutely kill it in their roles. Scarlett Johansson is a good actress and goes hard in the lead role as Zora Bennett. Mahershala Ali provides a pretty heartfelt role as her close friend and co-worker Duncan Kincaid, and Jonathan Bailey plays a good nerdy paleontologist, Dr. Henry Loomis, who's a fish out of water trekking through a dangerous remote jungle. These 3 are the movie. This is what I came to see, and they deliver. Here we have another one last mission type of story. Zora and Duncan are hardened covert ops specialists who've been doing life-threatening jobs for years, but want out so they can live the normal lives they've been missing out on. In typical JP fashion, Henry wants more science fundraising since his museum is going under. Wow, it was crazy walking into a Jurassic World screening to find actually likable characters with believable motivations as audiences can sympathize with. Gosh, there's even subtext. It's pretty loud subtext, but at least it exists. The screenwriting basics are being checked off. Duncan lost his son and likely feels a sense of responsibility. To cope with his loss, he goes out of his way to keep the child characters safe, making sure the same grief doesn't strike another father. Zora is dealing with PTSD after another friend of hers died, though I wish we kinda got to see a little more of this as the film progressed. When it's any of these 3 on screen, I'm having a good time. They're joined by your typical greedy business type guy, Martin Krebs, who works for a pharmaceutical company called Parkergenics. In a Hollywood blockbuster where your company man for big corporations is almost always a villain, his dark turn and end of movie comeuppance death were extremely predictable. Krebs is fine, somewhat cool and charismatic, far from a mustache-twirling cartoon villain that I've grown accustomed to in these entries. He's in line with maybe Ludlow, not great, but not bad either, serviceable for the story. Our hired guns are retrieving the paleo DNA in order for, insert evil big corporation here, to synthesize a cure for heart disease, so they'll all be handsomely rewarded for their efforts. Here's where one flaw comes in, or an unclarified point of confusion, one of many. Henry and Zora see brief romantic chemistry, though we never see an out-of-place, pointless kiss scene as they're getting swarmed by dinosaurs or something, which I appreciate. So there's an ongoing conversation between the two about what to do with the DNA, to which they decide to open source it, making it available for all companies to create cures, thus driving prices down and making it more accessible. Nice, very nice, except how? So they have containers of blood and egg. How will these be replicated for everyone to use? How will this be shared with the world? Or Maybe someone can map the entire genome of these species and then give that info to companies, but then I must ask, why not do that in the first place? These are cloned extinct animals. Ingen, Biosin, Maserati, whoever has this info already, so why not retrieve that instead of going on such a perilous journey? I'm not a geneticist or a medicinal expert, so if there's something I'm missing, let me know in the comments. Henry and Zora's decision is meant to be selfless and uplifting, yet I found myself scratching my head. Flaws and all, here's where the movie is. These three leads carry the whole film on their shoulders, along with an okay antagonist. We're nowhere near the same league as Bull and Tembo, but hey, these guys were likable and enjoyable to see on screen. A huge win for a world movie. Unfortunately, we are following in the Minions' footsteps as it deals with dinosaurs on the mainland. As in, they're not the focus. Actually, Rebirth goes even further, wiping out most of the paleofauna around the world, forcing them into a few tropical localities because fake science, whatever, they can't survive apparently outside of tropical regions. For all its faults, at least Fallen Kingdom did something interesting with the lore. Sure, it took 2 stank installments to set it up, but now that dinosaurs roam free, next to nothing is done with them. This whole premise, all that build-up goes to waste, especially here. It's called Jurassic World for a reason, because we're going into a Jurassic World, but nope. So once again, for the 7th time, we're back on an island or isolated area to deal with the creatures there. Also continuing the JWs, people in-universe are still bored of dinosaurs, even more so now that they're roaming about and becoming a nuisance. This plot point never made sense to me. Jurassic World was built on an island in the Pacific people had to fly or sail to. Most average Joes would never have this experience, and if they did, it was probably a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So how in the world would people be tired of these amazing animals that barely anyone ever sees? Heck, even animals alive today that are featured in almost every zoo are still so cool and drive huge crowds. I recently visited the Natural History Museum in NYC for the Apex Stegosaurus skeleton. 32 years after Jurassic Park, the place is still packed. People love dinosaurs. Dino Guy recently made a whole video about this idea, and I totally agree. Great channel, go check it out. But yeah, this never made sense. And that conflicts with the idea that dinosaurs are disappearing from the rest of the world. So if you can't see dinosaurs almost anywhere, then how are you getting bored of them?
I don't know, Mr. Krabs. I don't know.
Where Rebirth really faceplants is in the B plot, the Delgado family, a couple of bystanders who get swept up in the adventure after their boat is attacked by the Mosasaurus. They're tacked on to the mercenaries' adventure, and they feel tacked on to the movie. Rebirth's best scene comes when Zora and Duncan discuss their lives on the outside. So there, I was in the theater actually enjoying myself until immediately after we cut to a random family. At that moment, I felt my brain saying in Mrs. Puff's voice, "Oh dear Neptune." We're not in new Walking with Dinosaurs territory where every time we switch to the paleontologist I want to blow my brains out, though the back and forth is still very unpleasant. I'd much rather be watching Scarlett Johansson than these losers, and no, not for the obvious reason. The Delgados themselves were fine, I guess, though I bet we're all thinking it. Xavier sucked. I despise this kid. And yeah, the film wants him to be an annoying, selfish prick, only to grow over time and get the father's approval. Except that growth never comes. David Koepp and whoever else had their grubby fingers on this script kept trying so hard to make us care for him and sympathize for him, but the more they tried, the more cringy it became. Xavier does the absolute bare minimum, jumping in to save his girlfriend, Luna, from certain doom. Sure, as a father, I'd appreciate anyone who tried to save my daughter, but as a boyfriend, not letting your girlfriend get eaten by a Spinosaurus is the bare minimum. Oh, and in one scene, he grabs a few sticks to help keep their small fire going. Bravo, gold medal, 74 good noodle stars for you. Man, I wish the T-Rex got to snack on his behind. Speaking of the T-Rex, yeah, these characters venture into the realm of too stupid to live. Xavier waltzing into the middle of a mutant dinosaur jungle to pee, rather than simply turning around from the others. He should have been eaten. Later, in the long-awaited Rex raft scene, well, the chase itself was okay, but the lead up to it made me want to find the nearest bridge and jump headfirst. Dang, I actually wrote that. That's dark. Luna goes into full suicide mode, attempting to sneak in front of a sleeping T-Rex, dragging a large, noisy, inflatable raft, and then attempts to activate it. Girl, were you born without any survival instincts? How has nature not selected you out yet? There's also a weird Chekhov's gun that's never fired. The father, Reuben, hurts his leg in his second maritime fiasco of the day, so for the rest of the runtime, he's limping with the aid of a walking stick. Actually, the limp comes in and out. In some scenes, he looks totally fine. From the lengths the writers went to set this up and draw attention to it, you would expect his injury to have some sort of impact. Maybe we'll get a suspenseful scene where he has to move past some dangerous creature, but he's not fast enough, or, something along those lines. Nope, there's zero impact on the plot. Good work, guys. Drinks all around. I also thought that being some sort of mariner, Reuben would be more useful when it comes to survival. He isn't. He does nothing of note the whole time. Honestly, he's not even that great of a dad. After Luna and Xavier are overboard in Spino-infested waters, he jumps off Duncan's boat with his elementary-aged daughter in hand, forcing her into the Spino-infested waters.
You're joking, right? He's not joking.
I get trying to save one kid, but forcing another into this deadly situation? Yeah, I'm calling CPS. This dude's a moron. Last thing I'll say about the Delgados, man, I'm just tired of children being shoved into these movies. Every single Jurassic Park in the world has included some child protagonist so that kids can feel represented, I guess, have someone to relate to. Sometimes they're essential to the plot or as supporting characters. Other times, it feels like they're just tagging along, knowing the film's rating is PG-13, so no harm can befall them. In this instance, Isabella and the rest felt very forcibly shoved into a story where they didn't belong, solely for the sake of including kids. The family has no bearing at all on the DNA collection fetch quest. It literally happens while the two groups are separated. If the river raft had to be in here, it could have been worked into the A-plot instead. For future installments, can we stop cramming kids in here? They're not necessary. Kids don't only watch movies with other kids in them. Spider-Man and Iron Man had no children. The original Star Wars trilogy had 0 kids, yet these are immensely popular with people of all ages. Jurassic movies don't need children to resonate with that demographic, so don't force them into stories where they don't belong. I will compliment though how in both A and B plots, audiences are given plenty of time to breathe. Scenes show characters simply interacting, getting to know each other, allowing us to grow attached to them. Even action movies need to slow down for a few moments so we can learn about them and get the attachment. That way, when the action picks back up, we care for their survival, causing there to be stakes and tension. Again, this is screenwriting 101, but man, have I missed even the most basic techniques. So for Rebirth, that makes the pacing another win. I was scared we would see another Dominion where the second act is one pointless chase after another, so more prehistoric creatures can be touted for paleo fans and to make another toy. Though thankfully, we're not making the same mistakes.
No, you're making all new ones.
I guess I should finally talk about the dinosaurs then, huh? You do expect me to have dinosaurs on my dinosaur channel. Once again, we have too many. In my previous How to Make a Better Jurassic sequel video, I suggested the filmmakers show no more than 10 species. From what I remember, there's 13 extinct reptiles in total, which is thankfully tame. Still, some are only present for fan service or to sell a toy and add absolutely nothing. Dilophosaurus, Compsognathus, Ankylosaurus, Velociraptor, they're more like member berries. Remember when these guys were cool? Remember how much better of a time you had watching those other movies? Some of their moments could have easily been cut or tweaked slightly, but no, we have to hit the nostalgia button. Chucking more dinosaurs at the screen doesn't make for a better film. Stop catering to the paleo nerds online who spaz out over creature conformations. And paleo nerds, stop spazzing out over a roster number. That just encourages more of this behavior from the filmmakers. Diminishing returns hit hard when they do this. In fact, such behavior will make a film worse, as seen in Dominion. Perhaps it's not the amount of dinosaurs, but how they're utilized, but several of these inclusions just did not need to be here. Not that 13 is way too high of a number. I've beaten this dead horse before. So let's continue. A big problem with Rebirth is its clear identity crisis. It doesn't know what type of movie it wants to be. At its heart, there's a thrilling sci-fi flick about mutant creatures on an island, but it's simultaneously trying to be a Jurassic Park/World sequel. You see this in the island itself. Isle St. Hubert is meant to be a dumping ground for the deformed, unusable creatures that wouldn't fit into Jurassic World. Another retcon that there's yet another island where creatures were created, but fine, whatever. Why then are there just normal dinosaurs chilling out here? What was so wrong about these average dinosaurs that made them unusable? What did the poor para do wrong? Wait a minute, if this is the island of misfit mutant dinos, why is blood being extracted from these guys? Shouldn't the DNA be all kinds of screwed up if they weren't good enough for the park? So the film focuses on dinosaurs and other extinct reptiles for acts 1 and 2, but then shifts to mutants in the third. I say, pick a lane. Make another pointless Jurassic sequel, or do a mutated monster horror flick. Trying to do both at the same time causes Universal to fumble both. I'm not sure who deserves more blame for this. Universal, who's been pushing the hybrid monster angle on the series for a decade now, or director Gareth Edwards, who apparently thinks audiences are bored by dinosaurs. The big bad creature this time around is the D-Rex, a gigantic, unstoppable monstrosity made from a failed attempt at T-Rex. If the Giga is the Joker, this is Mr. Freeze, a sympathetic villain who we're supposed to feel bad for. None of this ever came across on screen. The directors, the filmmakers were just smoking something when they said that. Its origin is shown in the opening, due to the stupidest series of events imaginable, but then isn't relevant until the film's climax. I honestly forgot about it. That's how little impact it had. I don't even hate the D-Rex, cause while the design is the most generic cross between a necromorph and a muto, there's barely anything to it. We get no motivation, no insight into its existence, or what it means to the characters, or to the world. The big bad is just a monster that attacks people. The end. There's nothing else to say. Honestly, could have been replaced by the T-Rex returning for a midnight snack, and nothing would have really changed. Same goes from the other new addition, the Mutodon, a cross between a pterosaur and raptor, which could have been replaced by a raptor. Before release, we saw previews of the upcoming Velociraptor design, which looked stunning. A true return to form for the series. Rather than the broad, chunky, alligator-like disasters from Jurassic World, we're back to the JP3 look of a more slender, stealthy hunter. Plus the new coloration of greens, with orange and blue on the face, beautiful. Even the quills made a return. Can't wait to see it in the movie, right? Well, nope, it's silhouetted in the background for 5 seconds before being stomped by a Mutodon.
Surprise, motherfucker.
We were so close to having visually stunning yet deadly raptors again who weren't pets. But no, all the talent that went into this new model is wasted. Our new Spinosaurus are fine, not nearly as awesome as the JP3 version, but they're fine. That'd be alright in a new franchise, though knowing what we had before and could have seen again, a huge disappointment. Imagine waiting all these years for the return of Spinosaurus, only to get the Walmart version. The Spino at home. Mosasaurus 2 sees an accuracy update, even though it's meant to be the same exact one from Jurassic World, so make of that what you will. Now, if you've been around the channel, obviously I love dinosaurs and I want to see them portrayed well. As long as the filmmakers aren't retconning the looks of already established animals, I'd be happy to see some more paleo-accurate reconstructions. But A, these changes make no sense in universe. Why are these Spinosaurs so distinct from the cooler one? Why has the Mosasaurus suddenly changed shape and color? And B, it's so strange when some aspects of a creature are updated, while other aspects of the same guy are made more outlandish. Sure, Spinos have a more accurate sail, taller tails, shorter legs, and they swam. Awesome. Then, just as you think progress is being made, you notice there's stumpy necks, quadrupedal locomotion on land, which was always a bad idea, swimming out in the ocean as a marine predator, and collaborating with Mosasaurus. For every step forward comes 2 steps back. The JP3 Spino was more accurate in its time than the Rebirth Spino is in the present. Mosa 2 is gifted with the correct sail fluke, but then looks blue whale sized. Come on, what are we doing, guys? One part that made me laugh was when Dr. Loomis referred to both Mosasaurus and Quetzalcoatlus as dinosaurs, like no self-respecting paleontologist would.
Allosaurus had never seen such bullshit before.
To be clear, my complaint isn't that JW is going accurate, or still too inaccurate. It's that they attempt both depending on the subject, and are bad at doing both. Universal's inaccurate designs are ugly, while attempts at accuracy still fail. Pick a side, then do it well. Quetzalcoatlus sees an ugly design and is less scientific. So why the Shrek was it altered in the first place from the much better The Minion one? Some of the action set pieces are cool. The Jaws-inspired Mosasaurus chase may be giddy. If you're gonna copy from the best. If someone edits this scene with the John Williams score, it would be magic. The long-awaited raft scene is aight.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as
I'm sure some Jurassic Park fans will like it, simply because it's an adaptation of a famous scene from the novel. Maybe I could have enjoyed it more if it weren't for the negative IQ setup and the fact that all the characters involved are invincible anyway, so never did I feel any tension. Duncan's sacrifice at the end managed to hit me in the feels. This is one of the only characters I've grown attached to since 2001, so his choice to sacrifice himself, his future, his relationship with his ex, so that ScarJo and the kids can live their lives, felt genuinely heroic. He would have been up there with Eddie Carr, except the filmmakers chose to walk this moment back. Yeah, just when I thought Rebirth learned from past mistakes, in the words of every great movie, so that just happened. Way to kill the moment, guys. Alright, so this review is going on for way longer than I originally intended. Here are a few more negatives before we go. Much of the dialogue is bad. Too often it felt hallmarky, very cheesy, with some boomer jokes thrown in there. I forget what the joke was, but no one in the theater laughed except one middle-aged mom I saw bringing a caravan of kids. At times a character would say something stupid or goofy, only for the camera to cut to other people's reactions. That's the peak dialogue we're getting. Next up, whoever's working the new soundtrack needs to stop. New pieces are generic filler. Some, again, hallmark fluff, like when the characters are talking, only to hit us with the most basic dun 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 dun. I have no idea what I'm trying to do there, but you guys get what I'm saying. To make up for the lack of creativity, the original JP theme is played so many times because we can't let audiences forget this is a Jurassic sequel. Once again, the epic theme swells over boringness. In the first JW, we heard it over the monorail and buildings. Wow, buildings, great. Here it plays over a rundown fishing village. Is this a joke? Someone take the aux cord away from this man. You're done, you're done. Similarly, Rebirth overdoes it with the nostalgia baiting. Constant visual and musical references are made to the original because that's what you do when your new movie can't stand on its own 2 feet. Spam the nostalgia button, then hope audiences are dumb enough to buy into it.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
I don't understand how the D-Rex initially breaks out. This stupid dude eats a Snickers bar, the rapper somehow breaks a door from one area of the lab to another area of the lab, and somehow this releases the monstrosity. I'm sure someone in the comments knows the deep magic, but it was unclear in the film itself. I was not there when this was written. One compliment is how the sets feel more realistic. They're dirtier, grittier, more jungly, as if the leads filmed in exotic locations rather than on a set. This harkens back to the JPs rather than JWs, thankfully. And finally, let's end at the ending. It's a ripoff of the original with the protagonist escaping the island, riding off along the water, staring at some modern animals, Another reference, except this time it makes no sense. In 1993, the leads watch pelicans flying above the water. It's the perfect conclusion to Grant's character arc. In the beginning, he's associated with raptors, slashing at children, hating progress, not fitting into the modern world. By the end, Grant evolves into a gentler, more caring figure who was able to evolve with the times, just as the dinosaurs evolved into birds. A previous line was, "You can never look at birds the same way again." They were that, now they're this, evolved and modern. Now in 2025, they see dolphins? Dolphins? What the crap is this?
Son of a...
To sum up my thoughts, Jurassic World Rebirth is bad. Yeah, it's another stinky sequel to amazing, good, and mediocre films. This series should have gone extinct long ago. We need new mainstream dinosaur franchises because we can't keep digging up this grave. At the risk of sounding overly negative and a little mean, it doesn't matter to Universal. No matter how terrible these releases are, audiences will still flock to theaters in droves. Online communities still hype the crap out of each upcoming release, picking apart every bit of information they can find. After seeing an eye-bleed-inducing film, diehard fans will still go online and defend it. Now, people are entitled to their opinions, and they can enjoy whatever movie they want, but when the bar is so low it's practically in the Earth's mantle, what incentive is there for the filmmakers to do any better? If you keep coming back for slop, they'll keep getting slop. Those who maybe didn't like some of the recent films still return to theaters, just like people go back to their exes thinking they'll change. No, Samantha, he's not going to change. Move on. You can do so much better. We keep coming back, expecting a good Jurassic movie, and that's not happening. How many times can we be duped before we stop paying for these? I can also acknowledge that since I paid for this, I'm part of the problem, though I can sleep at night because I watched it to make this review. I view these movies as an occupational hazard, but for as many issues as I had with the latest installment, I can't say I hate it. My reaction walking out of the theater wasn't visceral as it was with the previous three. I managed to find some enjoyment in the main cast, even if they aren't perfect, nor are the decisions made with them. Some of the action scenes were at least entertaining. It's the best Jurassic World movie, though I'd rank it somewhere below JP3. Dang, I'm old enough to remember when that was the worst. I don't know, maybe this one is terrible, maybe I should hate it, but the hatred simply isn't there. Maybe I'm just numb to it now. If you haven't watched it, I recommend a single viewing when you can find it on streaming or through other undisclosed methods. For those who have seen Rebirth, what are your thoughts? Did you like it, dislike it? How does it compare to previous entries? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and to check out my social media. See you next time.